Hello, welcome to the Adanalysis educational video series. In this video, we're going to look at the best ad testing metrics for your PPC account based upon what you want to accomplish. One of the issues we run into is when we look at all of our data, it's really difficult at times to tell which ad we should be choosing. We may have one ad that's a winner in CTR, another in conversion rate, a different one in cost per conversion. So we're going to look to these metrics to see which one you should be choosing based upon what you want your PPC account to accomplish. So we look at what metrics apply to ads. We have impressions, how often it's displayed. We have clicks, how often it's clicked on, conversions, cost, and sale amounts. These 5 metrics are generally used to derive then your click-through rate, conversion rates, and so forth. So let's look at the derived metrics to see what metrics are actually using and then where they have failures. So when we look at click-through rate, it's a simple formula, clicks divided by impressions. So it's only using 2 of your 5 metrics. So it's ignoring the quality of the click itself. So click-through rate is a really common ad testing metric, but it's got a lot of problems with it. Because if you've got one ad with a really high CTR, and a really high bounce rate, a different ad with a lower CTR but a much lower bounce rate. Your lower CTR ad is actually bringing more qualified users to your sites, regardless of the actual conversions and so forth. So CTR is rarely a good metric to use unless you're purely focused on quality score. Next, we have conversion rate. So this is just a simple formula of your conversions divided by clicks. So now we're ignoring opportunity, which is impressions, CPC, or sale amounts. So conversion rates, again, don't look at how often someone comes to your site, which is your overall impression-based data combined with clicks. Next, we have CPA, or cost per acquisition, cost per conversion. This is cost divided by conversions. We're again ignoring impressions and clicks, so how often someone comes to our site, and sale amounts. So while sometimes you want to work towards a specific CPA in the account, that's often more bidding, or in ad testing, it can be a filter when used with other metrics, which we'll address in a moment. Next, we have ROAS, or return on ad spend. So this looks like your total sale amounts, your revenue data, divided by cost. So again, we're ignoring how many people are buying, right, which is our overall conversions. So if you have one click, one sale, and it was a really high checkout, another ad that's got a lot of clicks, a lot of sales, but lower checkouts, your ad that's bringing in more revenue would actually have a lower ROAS. So when we look at these metrics, here's sort of the problem, right? We have one ad, winner by CPA and conversion rate, a different ad, winner by click-through rate. So what's better, a high click-through rate ad with a lower conversion rate, or a lower click-through rate ad with a higher conversion rate? And so that's what we want to really address with some additional ad metrics we can use. So when we think about opportunity of conversion, this is at the impression level. You chose a keyword. Every time someone searched for your keyword, you have a chance for a conversion. So moving up our ad testing metrics to the impression level takes advantage of entire volume of conversions that's possible. Now, it should accommodate cost and sales when possible. So in lead gen, you could accommodate cost and your average CPCs by looking at your CPA data. In e-commerce, you can look at your actual revenue, and this determines your ROAS and your ROI numbers. Now, actual revenue is nice for lead gen, but sometimes it's not possible, especially if you have a 6-month or 2-year sales cycle. So we want to think about our cost and sales that are also brought in by our ads. So this leads us to one of our first metrics that's impression-based, which is conversions divided by impressions. Because it looks at impressions and clicks, which is CTR, and clicks and conversions, which is conversion rate, conversion per impression says this ad will get the most conversions out of the number of impressions available. So when you want most conversions possible, and you have these mixed metrics, high CTR, low conversion rate, low CTR, high conversion rate, conversion per impression blends click-through rate and conversion rate together with one simple formula. So if we then go back to our ad test and we say, okay, well, let's just take our conversions divided by impressions. It turns out our winning ad is actually number 2. It's the second best click-through rate, it's the second best conversion rate, and in aggregate, when that particular ad is displayed, you have a higher chance of a conversion than either one of the other ads. And so that's where conversion per impression gives you a better view of how likely someone is to convert after just searching for your business. Now, of course, the one downside to CPI, or conversion per impression, is we are ignoring our CPC and cost data. So, revenue per impression looks at here's all the sales we made, the actual sale amounts themselves, and divides it by impressions. So now we're using click-through rate, conversion rate, average CPCs, ROAS, so forth, because we're using all 5 of our metrics to determine revenue per impression. So this is also a really simple formula to do. Revenue, total revenue that ad brought in, divided by that impressions. In this example, ad 1, when it's displayed, makes $2.86. Ad 2 makes 73 cents. Ad 3 makes $2.21. Well, every time an ad is displayed, making $2.86 is definitely better than the other 2 numbers. There's your winning ad from a revenue standpoint. Now we can move even further in some cases. So your profit is your revenue minus your cost divided by impressions. So cost data can at least be the cost of the ads. If you have cost of hard goods, you can push that information back, and now you're taking your entire revenue minus your ad costs, minus your cost of goods, divided by impressions. So most systems will use revenue minus ad cost divided by impressions. That can easily be automated. Cost of hard goods, pushing it back, is a little more difficult. So then if we again take a look at our numbers, and we're doing revenue minus our ad costs, we see a very different picture suddenly of this particular ad set. Ad 3 is leading to very, very small average sale amounts, and it has such a poor quality score and click-through rate that it has a much higher CPC and cost than some of the other ads. It's not unusual to sometimes find an ad where its CPCs are significantly higher than other ads. And so using profit per impression, revenue minus cost divided by impressions, we'll use all the metrics, including your ad cost and potentially cost of hard goods. So what metrics should you use? So if your goal is most conversions possible, that's conversion per impression, real simple formula. If it's the most visitors, that's click-through rate. Now, if it's the most engaged visitors, then you'll define a conversion as a 3-minute website visit, 30 seconds of video watch, 2+ pages on your site, make a conversion goal, and now you go back to conversion per impression. Your conversion is just an interaction metric as opposed to an actual lead form being filled out or an e-commerce buy. If you want the most revenue possible, use revenue per impression. If your goal is purely improving quality scores, CTR is one to use. CTR is a very good tiebreaker because the more clicks you get, the more people in your audiences and so forth. So if you got 2 ads almost identical, CTR is a good tiebreaker. If you want the most profit possible, that'd be profit per impression. Now, sometimes you have metrics you must hit. You must have a 400% ROAS or a $32 CPA. In a case like that, we would look at our ad tests. We'd say, okay, we want the most conversions possible, but we must have a $32 CPA or less. So then any ad above that target gets X'd out, just filtered out. Then among the ads below your target, which is the highest conversion per impression, that's your winner. So using ROAS or CPA is filter metrics that these ads cannot win. And then your highest conversion per impression and revenue per impression really lets you take advantage of the entire search opportunity by showing the best ad possible for every impression out there. You can do this math yourself. You can use a system like Analysis, which will automatically figure out all these metrics and alert you when you have statistical significance in one of these chosen ad testing metrics. So I hope you've enjoyed this short video on choosing the best ad testing metrics for your PPC account.